Hello, everybody. Welcome to Late Night Football. Welcome to our season preview series for 2023-2024. We're going to do a few different clubs that we're going to preview for the season coming up. We're starting with the Premier League, but hopefully we'll be able to do a few in the other leagues as well. We won't be able to cover all the teams across all the leagues. That's just not possible. We'll try to pick some of the bigger teams, some of the bigger clubs, some of the the ones that we want to look out for this season. So we'll try and do that. But hope you enjoy it and do share your thoughts, of course, on it. Again, most of our predictions, most of our preview is going to be based on what the teams are as of now, and I'm cognizant of the fact that this will change, right? This probably will change by the end of August. So whatever I say today, just assume that it's for today, and it could very well change based on what happens for August 31st, because you never know. A team might sign a big player. I mean, Mbappe might leave PSG and go to some big club. You just never know what could happen. Harry Kane might finally leave as well. So based on that caveat, we'll talk about about what the teams are as of now. But that being said, I think we can make some reasonable predictions and guesses, and we'll go through that. So we're going to start off with Manchester City. The champions of England, the champions of Europe, treble winners. Just lost the Community Shield final, but I don't think too many people are going to care about that. But what is their season? What could their season look like? Now, there's been a lot of transition, and I'm actually a little bit surprised, but also a little bit, I think if you're a rival fan, you should be a little bit worried that they've started this transition now, because I thought they might have waited a year, and I was really hoping that they would wait a year, because you get 1 year of like maybe a slightly less motivated squad, slightly a little older squad, and it gives other teams an opportunity to try and break that dominance. But the fact that they've started that transition a year earlier ahead of schedule is probably good for them. Mahrez is gone. Kyle Walker might leave. Bernardo Silva again might not leave. But also, some other play. They brought in Kovacic, of course. Gundogan has gone as well. So there's been some transitions, and I expect that there'll be more that will happen between now and the next year. But certainly we are on that road of transitions happening, and that's going to be interesting for the City fans to see how the evolution of the team will happen. It looks like Cole Palmer might be seen as a Mahrez replacement. If that is the case, I think I'm excited to see him. I don't think he was that good at the Euros, as the little that I saw of him. I thought he was a little bit overrated from the Euros. I'm not saying he's overrated in general. I'm saying in that tournament his performances were slightly, especially in the final, I didn't think he had a good final. But that being said, he was involved in the goal that England did score, and I think he's definitely someone with a lot of potential. And City have been really good at bringing through young players, so I'm sure he will have a very good season for Manchester City, and is one to watch, of course. Phil Foden, another player that I said, I think he'll be someone who will want to now become a starter. He's been on the fringes of the first team. He's almost like in and out, but he'll hope to be a guaranteed starter going forward this season. I think this season he'll want that, because now he's getting to the point where it's no longer potential, but it's now time to start delivering. And he's at that stage of his career now, and he'll hope to do that for Manchester City rather than just being in and out squad player. So a big season coming up for him. See De Bruyne, he didn't start the Community Shield final, which I was surprised with, and I do feel that there might be something there that De Bruyne and Pep probably don't always see eye to eye on things. I don't want to speculate, but I feel like that sometimes happens. There's a bit of friction there. But of course he'll be Mr. Consistent for them. And then you get to Erling Haaland. How good could he be this season? I feel like I said before, I think he will not be as effective against the big teams as he was last season. And I feel like his goal tally might be less than last season. Of course, he got 50 goals last season. So when you say less, 45 is less, 40 is less, but it's still brilliant. It's still a brilliant campaign by any standard. So, I don't see him. I don't see him necessarily, losing his potency. What I feel is that he needs to add a bit more to his game to continue to be effective in front of goal, and that will be the challenge for him. Can he continue to be effective? Can he continue to be, this big names goal scorer that Manchester City got? So that will be one interesting facet to watch out for. What will be undoubted is that City have the best defense in the Premier League. That I think is without a shadow of doubt. You've still got Kyle Walker there, who may or may not leave. We'll consider that he's not leaving at the moment, because there's really no news on him going to Bayern. Now it's all gone cold completely. You've got John Stones, you've got Manuel Akanji, you've got Nathan Ake, you've got Ruben Dias, you've got Aymeric Laporte. Again, he may or may not leave. We're going to assume he's going to stay there. And then on top of that, they've added Josko Gvardiol. So even if Laporte does leave, they've still got Josko Gvardiol, a €100 million talented centre-back who's very, very young and very, very highly rated. I'm sure he's going to have a good season as well. So they really have a wonderful defense. And I think that will be the backbone for Manchester City again this season. Even against Arsenal, their defense pretty much held firm. It was just an own goal from Akanji that ultimately gave Arsenal the route to the win. But otherwise, I think they were very solid defensively. So that back one, of course, Rodri in front of them, screening them, is again going to be an asset as well. So I think overall Manchester City look good. The only question, of course, is Ilkay Gundogan is a player that you can't really replace. You can replace a lot of players, you can't replace Ilkay Gundogan. And he's going to be his ability to come up in trumps in clutch situations. I think that is something that City will miss. Can Kovacic replace that? Probably not. Can somebody else step up and replace that? Maybe we'll hope that maybe Phil Foden can replace that, being that clutch player for Manchester City perhaps. But he is going to be a big miss for them this season. And if there's any ray of hope for rivals, I think it is that particular miss of Ilkay Gundogan not being there in the clutch moments to come and step up and score goals. But again, it's they've got other players. Pep has shown that he can work with other players. Aguero left. They still managed to win the league without him. Other players leave, and City the juggernaut just keeps rolling on and on. And to be fair, I will say this here, I don't see it stopping. Now I don't know if they'll do a treble again. I think that might be a little bit difficult. It's too early to make predictions for the Champions League right now, so I'm not going to make any predictions there. What I've seen from preseason, I don't think any team is at the level of Manchester City, but it's preseason, so I don't want to put too much emphasis on that. But the fact is, I still see Manchester City being the best team in Europe. But cup competitions don't always work out that way. And, at times they did rely on Rodri, they did rely on Gundogan to get them through those, sticky moments, those tough moments. They won't have Gundogan, so will somebody else be able to step up in those sticky moments? Will that be what will cost them? That is something we'll find out. So like I said, I don't want to make any predictions there. But from what I'm seeing, I feel like they're the best team in Europe. In England, they definitely are the best team. I mean, there's just, I just don't see anybody. Yes, Arsenal won it on penalties, but they won it with an own goal. Right? You're not going to get penalties in the league when you draw a game. You're not always going to get an own goal in the league. So I see Manchester City again winning the league. I just don't see anybody stopping them. I just don't see where the challenge is going to come from. Largely because when you look at the other teams around them, there's obvious gaps in all of those teams. Manchester City at the moment don't seem to have any obvious gaps. And I think teams still haven't figured out how to play their 3-2-4. The 3-2-4-1 formation is still something that teams haven't yet figured out exactly how to counter that. Counter that in the sense, yes, they can probably defend against it now. I think most teams can probably defend against it, but they can't score against it. And so therefore, if you don't score, you rarely win games. I mean, you draw them sometimes. Most of the times you end up losing because City only need one goal or two and then they'll win the game. Usually. And so if you can't score a goal, if you can't score more than one goal, then it's very tough for you to win against Manchester City. So I still feel City are head and shoulders above everyone, and I still see them winning the league. The question is, how many points will they accumulate? I think they might accumulate less than last season. But the secret to winning against Manchester City is actually very simple. The secret is simple. Doing it is very tough. One team needs to be near perfect till about 23-24 games. You need to be almost near perfect. We're talking maybe they need to be on 65 points. In fact, 65 points, I would say between 60 and 65 points is what you need at that 23 game mark. And what you need is for Manchester City probably to be around 45 points. You need the gap to be around 10 to 15, maybe even 15 points. 15 points ish. You need that gap to be. And going to the last 15 games, you need that's what the gap has got to be for you, because City will be relentless. In the last 15 games, their greater squad depth, their greater talent will show, and their greater big game experience will show. So they'll pick up points very, very, very quickly. And so whoever's on top at that point, if it's not Manchester City, they've got to be that many points ahead so that they can give themselves a cushion where they can drop 2 or 3 games and still win the league, which is what Liverpool did. Liverpool were near perfect in the opening, part of the 20-25 games of the season. It wasn't until February that they lost their first game. So they were perfect then. And then finally they had a bit of drop off after that. But that's what you need to do. You need to be near perfect. And I don't see any team in the league right now who can be that near perfect. Maybe some team will take a lead, maybe, 4, 5 points, 6 points ahead, maybe. But then City will claw that back. Anything under 10 points going into last 15 games of the season, City will claw that back. So, and I don't see any team that can have more than 15 points of a gap at the moment. So my prediction is that City will finish first. I feel that. But it's football, anything can happen. We can hope. I've said this before and I'll say this again. It's a worrying time for the Premier League if City win 4 in a row, because Premier League needs competition. It's not a good look. It's one thing when a team wins 4th title fighting hard, but it's not a good look when we can already predict who the winner is going to be even before the season starts, and they end up winning the league, which I firmly believe City will. So if you're predicting City will win and City go on to win, that's something the Premier League will have to look at strongly. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day. So yeah, who's going to be the key player for Manchester City? I think I know people say Haaland, people say De Bruyne. I think I'm going to go a little bit left field and say it's going to be Julian Alvarez, because he's a player who can replace De Bruyne, he's a player who can replace Haaland, and he's the player who gives them a lot of squad depth. And it's so funny when there are teams like Arsenal, Manchester United struggling to find a single good striker, and City have 2 of them. That shows you why they win league titles and why they win the big trophies, because they have so much squad depth. But I think he's going to be a key player for them this season. And I said my heart breaks every time he plays well because of what could have been with him in Manchester United instead of City. But the fact is, I think he's going to be a key player for them, because if he can replicate the form that he shows for Argentina, if he can be a key player for them, whether as a starter, whether as a bench option, he gives them so much depth in that forward areas. I think he could, he'd be the X factor, because imagine, having a player of Alvarez quality, on the bench. You think you've seen off Haaland, you think you've seen off De Bruyne, and suddenly Alvarez comes on, gets you a goal. It's frustrating. Or imagine that, you see the team sheet and you see if De Bruyne is not starting, Haaland is not starting, but it's Alvarez who's starting instead of one of them, and he goes and scores a goal, and then, you're frustrated. So I think he'll be a key player for them. And Phil Foden, it's a big season for him, as I said. I think Rodri will be another key player, and how well he does in that midfield without Gundogan is going to, I think, determine how far City can go in all the competitions this season. But I will pick Alvarez as the player to watch, someone I think who could have a big season. Anyway, share your thoughts. It's a great preview. We don't want to go too much deep dive into details, tactics, and stuff. Just a quick prediction. But yeah, share your thoughts, of course, on this. Smash a like if you enjoyed this video. Always love to hear your comments, of course. And do subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Always appreciate your support. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back again with another one soon. Take care. Bye-bye.